Hello, everybody. How is it going? Hope everybody's having a great day. We are hitting Sales 101 today, and it is a different day. It's on Mondays. I have moved it to Mondays for a few reasons, primarily because Sundays seem to be pretty hectic around here, and I'm sure that everyone else is probably, having family day on Sundays. And, so it is officially now on Mondays. I'm going to say it will be somewhere between 4 and 6 on Mondays now that our season here where we live in Southwest Florida is up and swinging. We are a little busier now, so I will try to get it on here between 4 and 7. But of course, it's always archived, so you can always find it and rewatch it, when you have time. So let me just preface this by saying that this is week 3 of Sales 101. This has been a really fun course to teach. I've really enjoyed it. And if you find that you are really getting a lot out of this, please like it and share it with your friends. Your friends might need to see this too. So with no further ado, I'm just going to go ahead and get started. Sales 101 week 3 is goal setting. That's what we're talking about today, is goal setting. And that is one of the most important parts of your business, literally one of the most important parts of your business. Your business, your health, your lifestyle, whatever it is that you are trying to reach, you have to have a strategic plan to set goals. And I am going to go through with you how I've done it in the past and how it has worked for me. So here is, I put together a little slideshow here to show you guys visually exactly the things that I've done to create this, to achieve goals, to set goals, achieve goals. I've been doing it for a really long time. And I have pretty much reached every goal I've set. So I'm going to show you how to do it. Okay, so introduction. A goal is a desired result that a person plans and commits to achieve. So a goal is literally like you've got a plan together. You have certain
Welcome to this video on
numbers that you want
Today our
to.
topic is going to be on a very interesting module known as goal setting.
So
Well,
sorry.
before we even begin to talk about this module
So
on goal
sorry
setting,
about that. Don't know where that came from. Okay, sorry about that. And goal setting involves the development of an action plan designed to motivate and guide a person or a group towards a goal. Goals are meant to really push you. And when you're setting goals, there's a few things you want to keep in mind. You can set goals that are really easy to achieve, and you're going to achieve them, so you're not going to have any challenge ahead of you, and it'll be easy to achieve, and that's all great. However, if you're setting goals that are super easy to achieve, you're not really pushing yourself to the point that you need to. So my theory has always been it's better to aim high and miss than aim low and hit it, right? So you want to aim high, you want to set big goals, because who knows, you might just hit it. And when that happens, that can be super exciting. So, okay, moving on here. Here's a little quote here. Goal is a dream with a deadline. And that's Napoleon Hill. That is totally true. Every goal that you set starts with a dream, starts with a vision, a mental vision. And then when you decide that you're going to actually turn this dream into a goal, you put a deadline on it. You put it on your book, put it on your calendar. You write it down, you decide that's what's going to happen. That decision-making process is the biggest part of goal setting. So a goal is a dream with a deadline. I love that. So what I'm going to talk about as far as goal setting is I'm going to talk about the SMART method. So the SMART method is just this. Your goals are S, they're specific. M, they're measurable. A, they are attainable. R, they are relevant. That's almost the most important one in the entire goal setting process, is that they're relevant. and that there is a time restriction on them. So there's a time, so it's time based. Okay, so you want to be really super specific, like down to the ridiculous. You want to be totally specific. You have to be able to measure your success. You have to be able to measure as you're going through the goal, whether it's a 12-month goal, whether it's a 30-day goal, a 90-day goal, you have to be able to measure as you're reaching milestones. Or maybe you're not, and then you look at it and figure out why you didn't reach that milestone. So you have to really kind of like be really super specific so that you can measure accurately. Your goals need to be attainable. It needs to be something that you can do realistically. Now, that does not mean that you make it super easy on yourself, because through this whole Sales 101 course, our whole goal is to grow and to change and to achieve and to become more. So being attainable and being easy are two totally different things. Being attainable means that you can do this. Is it going to take a lot of work? Probably. But you can do it. You want to make sure that you're pushing yourself with your goals. Relevant means that in some way, this goal is either going to impact or change your life or the people that you're trying to help. So it needs to be relevant to you. It needs to mean something to you. It needs to just burn inside of you, like you know that if you don't do this, it's going to drive you insane. So it needs to be relevant. And then you need to have a deadline. Again, back to the quote. A goal is a dream with a deadline. You need to have a deadline. You need to say, okay, by this point, I am going to have this goal achieved. And it's amazing what starts to happen around you when you do finally make that decision of when you want it to happen. Okay. So here is kind of what I just talked about, but this is a little bit more visual. So specific, what exactly do you want to accomplish? So while you're writing that down, if you have your goal plan in place in your head, write that down. What exactly do you want to accomplish? What do you want to accomplish? Write it down. And write it down, neatly so you can hang it up somewhere and you can look at it often. Measurable. How will you know when you've met your goal? How will you know when you've achieved it? So you have to be able to measure. Attainable. Is it possible to meet this goal with effort? Keyword, effort. Is it possible to meet this goal with effort by your timeline? Relevant. Is this goal worth working hard to accomplish? If at the end of this goal, will it have changed your life? If that is no, then that's probably not a goal you want to spend a lot of time on. Is this goal worth working hard to accomplish? Because any goal that you set that is going to require effort is going to require hard work. So make sure it's something that's going to push you to do that hard stuff. And timely. What is the deadline that you want? What is the deadline you set to meet your goal? And down here you see it says a goal without plans is just a wish. That is so true. And wishes are not very helpful, right? We can wish and wish and wish, but until we start putting action behind those wishes, they are nothing more than a wish. Okay, so let's talk about why goals sometimes fail. And just because you set a goal does not mean that you're going to reach it. There is a lot that has to happen between the time that you set a goal and you reach a goal. There is a whole lot that has to happen in between those two. So let's talk about why goals fail. The goal was not written down. Huge important factor is writing it down. I'm going to pause for just a second and tell you a little something about when I first really started setting goals and when I really started seeing some changes. So when I first went to work for a company that I was with for a long time, I would my first day on the sales floor, I wrote down my goal and I handed it to my manager for that day. It was my goal for that day, and I wrote it down and I handed it to my manager. And she was so surprised that I did that on my own, but it was something that was important to me. Like, I knew if I wrote the goal down, I looked at it, then I handed it to her, then there was a commitment level there, because there's accountability. There's a level of commitment. So we're going to talk about accountability later on, but writing it down is so very important in front of you all the time, where you can see it and where it will bug you, because it's going to push you. So if the goal is not written down, it's probably going to fail. So rewards for achieving the goals were not given. So you don't set up a reward system for yourself. That's very important. We're going to talk about that in a minute too. The goal was unrealistic or not specific enough. We just talked about that in SMART. It has to be really specific. Like, you have to feel it. So it has to be really specific. The goal is not really believable, or little commitment exists. I mean, that comes down to, is it attainable? If it's not attainable, you're going to have a hard time believing it. And belief is what's going to push you. You keep changing or switching your goals with the weather. Remember, commitment. And if you just keep changing, you're not going to reach it, because changing your plans and you're only going to get a little bit of each thing done, and you're never going to reach the end of any of them. The person who set the goal has not told anyone else for added accountability, help, and support. Huge. We're going to talk about accountability. Accountability is like really important. And the goal is not incorporated into a realistic plan that includes measurements, timelines, and resources. So these are the reason that many goals fail. I'm sure that there are other situations that come up, but this is, primarily the reasons that goals fail. This is a picture of my goal board. This is my goal board that I made last year. And just as an FYI, I kind of changed my my measuring process a little ways through. This third column here is not my results. This was actually some more. These were all goals. But these are my actual goals right here. So they were all written down, and as you can see, I can kind of switch them and change them out if I need to. But all of these goals were written, and this is on my wall in my office, and I had to look at it every day. And as I went through it each month in my calendar, I was able to see whether or not I reached my goals. Well, let me tell you something. Not only did I reach all these goals, I greatly surpassed them. So realistically, setting goals like this is so important for your business, for your health, for whatever you're setting goals for. Writing it down and being able to see it clearly is so important. Okay, so let's talk about accountability. Accountability is super important because when you tell someone else about your goal, you have literally like etched it in stone. Like, I've told someone else about it now. I am not going to be embarrassed by not reaching this goal, right? That's why accountability partners are so important, because it's not just that they're going to hold you accountable. It's that level of integrity that you've put on the line. So you have put yourself out on the line by telling someone else about your goals. Okay, so this does not mean go and tell your 5-year-old about your goal, or your cat, right? You need to tell someone who is really going to hold you accountable, and and really has a vested interest in your success. Whether it be one of your friends, your partner, maybe if you have an upline, or maybe if you have a manager on the sales floor, someone who is going to take your goals to heart. And even if you take it a step further, if your goals can affect the person that you've chosen as an accountability partner, that can be even more powerful. So if you find an accountability partner who will directly be impacted by you reaching your goals, that right there could be something really powerful, and really develop a strong partnership with someone there with you, cheering you on as you're measuring your success. So accountability partners are really super important. Okay, so here's a SMART goal setting checklist. I don't think you can't print off of this. Of course, it's just a live video, but what you can do is you can Google this. You can Google SMART goal setting worksheet, PDF or printable. And there were several in there. I just grabbed one and threw it on here so you can kind of take a look at what you're looking for. But this can be something really good to, like, maybe if you keep a binder with you that has all of your information for what you're doing, this could be right in the front. So you see up here, number one, what is the goal? You can spell that goal out and write what it is. And why is the goal important? This word right here, this 3-letter word right here, why, such an important word and such an important concept. Your why is what's going to drive you. What is going to be the end result of you achieving this goal? That is your why. That needs to be right here and maybe in a different color and really standing out, because your why is what's going to carry you. Okay, this is your checklist. Okay, so this is your checklist to really setting your goal. Is the goal clearly written with no ambivalence? Is it clear who needs to accomplish the goal and any support they might expect? Measurable. Does the goal answer the questions of how many, how much, or how often? Achievable or attainable. Can you get the support needed to achieve the goal by the target date? Do you have all the resources you need to achieve that goal? And are the results expected realistic? Relevant. Does the goal make a difference in your career? Is it going to make an improvement in your personal life? Is it going to significantly make a difference in your business? Does the goal set a clear and specific completion date? So all using that checklist, you can really draw out a goal that can really drive you. Down here is your goal completion date. So this needs to be on this worksheet, but it should also be in your calendar and on your wall and maybe tattooed on your forearm. I mean, seriously, it needs to be so visible. And down here, you see they've added some lines where you can actually put in here some action items, some things you can do as you're going along to help you to complete your goals. I love that these lines are here because that can be really helpful. And this can be, filled in as time goes by, because as you're working towards achieving your goal, sometimes your circumstances change, sometimes they get better. And because you're working towards reaching this goal, things are changing in your life. And so you can increase or change your level of action to really, help you keep going towards your goal. Okay, let's talk about committing to your goal. Okay, that worksheet is going to help you to spell your goal out, which is going to really help you to commit to your goal. But you really, really must really be committed, and that comes through relevance. So if the goal is relevant to you, it's going to be pretty simple for you to get committed to it. So once you are totally committed to your goal, your mind shifts from hoping to knowing. And once you know, you move. And that is a fact. Once you know that you know that you know, you're going to start moving. You're going to start accomplishing and changing and growing. So you really have to commit to it. And there are different ways to commit to your goal. It all starts with your why, and then it moves into your relevance. So it has to be something that's going to pull you even more. I would say more than push, pull. Okay, so tracking your goals. This is how I track my goals. I track my goals in my calendar. So at the end of each calendar month, I'm able to go through, take a look at what I did, write it down in the note section at the end of the month, and then I know whether or not I've hit my goal. So this is the easiest way for me to track it. I was going to track it on that goal sheet that I showed you that is actually huge. It's 2 big poster boards glued together, but I was going to track it on there, but it actually became easier for me to track it in my calendar. So you'll find that things like that change as you move along. Your goal process kind of evolves to what is easiest for you and most of my work is done on the road. So it's really easy for me to just kind of track it in my calendar. So I have it all the time. But however you decide to track it, you must track it. You got to track it. You got to write it down. You got to know that you're winning or losing. And if you miss a goal 1 month, you got to figure out why. Why did I miss? Or one day, or however you're tracking it. You have to figure out why you missed your goal. What situation came up that forced you to miss your goal? And is it something that you can overcome and correct for next month? And can you make up the amount that you missed in the next month? And I know that when I had a sales career before I was running my own business, when I had a sales career, I had to do that. If I missed my goal 1 month, I had to tack that on to the next month. And I had to, the end of the year goal was what I was looking at. So, and still with my business now, I'm looking at the end of the year. So, okay, moving on. Now, when you have reached certain milestones in your goal process, you need to reward yourself. You need to set up maybe a monthly reward, a weekly reward, something like when you're dieting, you get a cheat day. When you're doing this kind of stuff, you need to be able to reward yourself. So with each, as you're tracking your goal, maybe each month you write down what your reward will be at the end of that month, what you're going to get if you reach that goal, and you need to reward yourself. When I was in a sales position, my reward was I would buy new handbags from time to time. When I would reach goals or I would get promotions or something like that, I would buy myself a new handbag. So you have to find something that's really going to push you to reach that goal that you're going to do for yourself. You must you must keep the main proponent of this goal process happy, and that's you. You got to keep yourself happy. So make sure you're rewarding yourself. Maybe you're telling your husband or your wife, hey, look, I did this, and get that positive reinforcement from them. So it's super important to pat yourself on the back. Okay, we're pulling into the end of this Sales 101 course today, and this is the book suggestion. Your Best Year Ever, a 5-step plan for achieving your most important goals. This is a phenomenal book. I definitely suggest reading it. Actually, if you go onto YouTube, you can just listen to it. It's on YouTube. You can listen to it, and you can buy it through Amazon, whatever. This is a great book. Definitely pick this up. We've given 3 book suggestions so far. I hope that you guys have checked out some of them. But anyway, that pretty much wraps up everything. I just kind of want to say here at the end that when you get through your first time achieving a goal, when you get through that and you can look back and you can say, I did this, you've then created a formula. Once you create that formula of achieving goals, you can take that formula and you can apply it to any situation. So I'll tell you this, really, this was life-changing to me, and I think back on it all the time, and it excites me every time I think back on it. My husband and I were living in a townhouse, and we had a whiteboard, and we really wanted things to change. We were just really tired of being in bondage of poverty, and I mean, we were not broke. We were okay, but we were not anywhere near where we wanted to be. And we were tired of telling our kids there were things we couldn't afford, or can we wait, or whatever. We were just sick of it. And so I wrote on a whiteboard, #Elevate. And I told my husband that we were going to make a certain amount that year. I said, we're going to make this much this year. And we surpassed that number. And our lifestyle elevated beyond what we could have even imagined. And, when I realized that I could do that just by the power of suggestion to myself, I thought, what happens if I put out a 12-month, really intense, specific plan for myself? Well, I did it. I showed it to you. And I reached it. And I know that anytime that I follow this program, this SMART Goals program, in any situation in my life, I'm going to hit that target. And you will too. And you'll see that when you do, that you have created a formula that will make you rich, a formula that will make you successful, a formula that will make you healthy. So thank you so much for tuning in. I hope you guys enjoyed it. If you did, please like and share. And please, any suggestions that you have, just pop them in the comments there, or any questions. I would love to answer any questions for you that I can. Thanks again, and we will see you for Sales 101 episode 4 next week.